there used to be this mentality, and there still is this mentality, that you need to specialize in one particular thing, and that will make you the most successful. It will get you the most experience. It will make you the best at that thing, and you'll be able to sell those skills at a higher premium than other people who are more of like jacks of all trades. They kind of do a little bit of everything, but they're not really masters of any one particular craft. Now, that is a good philosophy if you can make it work in your market, in your business, and whatever it is you're doing. But for shooters and for editors, I really, really think it's important that you do both. And whether that's professionally, maybe you're just a professional editor and then you shoot for fun, or you're a professional shooter and you edit for fun, I still think it is incredibly important that you do both and you don't just specialize in just one thing, because the more you do of the other, the better it makes you at the thing you're trying to do. So if you really like editing, and that's what you want to do, that's what you want to specialize in, by all means, go for it, do that 100%, say that you're an editor. But I do think it's very valuable for you to have hands-on with a camera, shooting as much as you can in your additional time, because the more that you shoot and you understand shot composition and framing and how to craft a shot that looks good, the better it will make you in terms of editing and being able to tell a story and pick the best shots. Because a lot of times you work with editors who don't always value the aesthetic characteristics of what a shooter's trying to accomplish, right? They're getting very specific shots for a very specific reason, and the editor is trying to tell the story, and so maybe they don't always see the same thing. So getting kind of outside of your perspective can be very helpful from an editing perspective. But also from a shooting perspective, if you're someone who you just have hands on a camera, you don't want to touch the edit, that's for someone else to do, you just want to shoot all day, all night, do your thing, I think it's so valuable for you to understand the shot requirements of any particular project, because a lot of times you'll have shooters who they're not, if they're capturing B-roll, they're not getting long enough shots, or they're not getting a good variety. They're not getting, high angle, low angle, close up, medium, wide, shot, reverse shot. There's so much different coverage that you need in an edit. And if you've never sat there going through a hard drive of footage and being like, man, I'm missing, half the shots that I need. If you've never done that, it's hard to have that mentality in the field. Now, there is this component of traditionally, shooters would be people who maybe had a shot list and they were kind of told, and everything was pre-production and planned out exactly the shots that were needed to tell the story, from maybe a more classic cinema, Hollywood, even television production standpoint. So you're just kind of doing what you're told. You're following a set of instructions. But nowadays, and over the past, 20, 30 years, things have been changing to where things are more run and gun, they're more documentary, they're more just in the moment, capturing what's happening and going into a place and not always having a plan. If you can have a plan and do that solid pre-production, absolutely, that is the best case scenario. But oftentimes you can't always do that. You don't always have that luxury. And as a shooter, if you're going in expecting to get all the coverage that you need to get in order to tell the story, if you've never done any editing yourself, it can be kind of challenging to kind of think of it from that perspective, because you might go in and get one shot and say, oh, that's exactly what I need. But then the editor who needs to cover, 30 seconds of their story with footage of that one component, they don't have that coverage, they don't have that footage. What are they going to do? Are they going to go to stock footage? Are they going to have to do some kind of animation? Are they going to have to just cut that section entirely? Or are you going to have to do a reshoot? There's a lot of problems. So the best thing that I can recommend is that if you're a shooter or an editor, you try and do the opposite. Just because I think the more hands-on you get with other different crafts or components of inside the industry, if you're a video shooter and you try and take photos, or if you're a photographer and you try and do video, it opens up your mindset to a different perspective that can actually shed light on your current position and give you insights that you might not have had before. Whether it's understanding shutter speed better, or understanding exposure better, or color better. If you're a shooter but you've never tried to color grade a film, or if you're a colorist and you've never shot something, there's so many different components that cross-pollinate, and yet people try and block themselves off or limit themselves. And I think that's kind of, from my perspective, it's kind of limiting if you're not willing to kind of step outside of your box. And I'm not saying you have to do it professionally. You don't have to, have a resume where it says that you do all of these things at a master level. No, it's not that. It's doing your thing that you want to do, but then dabbling in the other stuff to get a better understanding of it. Because anytime I've ever done that with anything, even outside of the industry, anytime you're exploring other things, you're learning, right? The more you learn, you can actually gain insights into your main passion, your main job title, whatever that might be. And it's really helpful because I think it builds you, it builds your skill set, it makes you better at the thing you want to do, but then you also get to learn these other cool things so you can actually help others along the way. If someone else has a question or a problem that they've run into that maybe you've experienced because you actually handled that one time, it just makes you so much better and so much more valuable in your role, whatever that might be. So shooters, definitely do a little bit editing because it'll make you understand the requirements of the footage that you need to gather. And editors, take the time to do a little bit of shooting because I think it's going to give you a better understanding of the visual aesthetic that you kind of want and kind of need. Now, if you're working in a team environment where you're the editor and you work closely with the shooter and you have that luxury of having an established team and you're kind of a dynamic duo or a bigger team than that, then that's fine. But I still would encourage you, step outside your box, get a little bit more experience, get a little bit of a different perspective because I think it's only going to help you in the long run.